Mr. President.
The senator from Alabama.
Mr. President, this is the policy of the President of the United States. He determined to change the policy that's been in effect for quite a number of years, and by all accounts has been working very well. All four service chiefs favor keeping that policy. He selected Admiral Mullen. He selected Secretary Gates, who has not been an enthusiastic supporter of this change, frankly. He's gone along with the Commander-in-Chief who appointed him. He's indicated that we ought to have a study first, made a commitment really to our men and women in uniform that there would be a study first. And we're not running an objective study. So Admiral Mullen did testify. He personally believed this was a change that ought to be made. But the Army Chief of Staff, General Casey, the Navy Chief of Staff, Admiral Ruffhead, the Air Force Chief of Staff, General Swartz, the Marine Chief of Staff, General Conway, and now General Amos, who's just testified this morning, who will be replacing General Conway, oppose it and believe that we owe it at least to the men and women of uniform to study the impact that this might have. And I just believe it's not necessary to ram this through this fast before we complete a study. I oppose that. And we had reports of a general, he's denied how he was quoted in the Washington Times, General Bostic in Europe, making statements that upset a very large group of people. He's a personnel general, 3 stars. About everybody had to go along with this agenda, be on board with it, and suggesting, according to the article, that you wouldn't be able to stay in the military if you weren't endorsing this proposal. And it was equivalent of civil rights and being a bigot if you somehow had a different view. I just think that's dangerous. To say this is not going to have a corrosive impact on the men and women in the military is a mistake. I think it is being raised up in importance and being raised up in the potential to damage the military by the fact that it's being rammed through before a fair and objective review of the policy is conducted. I believe that firmly. If this is going to be changed, it ought to be done respectfully, carefully, not moved through right now on this bill because of fear that the study won't be positive and it won't be able to be passed next year, maybe after the American people have sent some new senators to this Senate. Maybe then it won't be so popular and have so much support. So I am frustrated, Mr. President, that I would have to vote against the moving to the Defense Authorization Bill. Last year was the first time I did that because attached to the bill was an unrelated, controversial, hate crimes piece of legislation. I voted for bills that had other stuff in it I didn't agree with, but I tried to be supportive. But I will not, and I urge my colleagues not, to allow the defense bill to be a train to carry through controversial, unpopular pieces of legislation. It's just not the right thing for us to do. And we're going at it again this year. We've had a tradition of bipartisan support of defense bills. And I guess the first 12 years I was here, we've always had massive bipartisan support, and I've signed them. This action is overriding that tradition. It's not healthy. And I would just note, as a ranking Republican on the Judiciary Committee, I'm very, very disappointed that the majority leader has made clear that one of the amendments he's going to approve for us to vote on would be the controversial, unpopular DREAM Act that hasn't had a hearing, at least in years that I can recall, in the Judiciary Committee where it should be, to give amnesty to people who came into our country illegally. So I don't...
Senator's time has expired.
Mr. President, I urge my colleagues to vote against moving to this bill until it's cleaned up and does not have this controversial legislation on it. And we yield the floor.